At one point in my custom furniture business, we were doing over $700,000 a year, and I was almost completely broke. Let me tell you the story and how I fixed it. Hey, well, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the podcast. As always, thanks for being here. I'm super excited that you are learning and growing as a custom furniture maker and as a business owner. That's really the skill set that you need to take your revenues and your profits to the next level inside of your custom furniture company. It's not becoming a better woodworker. It's marketing and sales and positioning and systems that you need to implement inside of your business to take it to the next level. And I'm your host, Vaught. I'm super excited that you're here. And I want to be a little candid, a little vulnerable, a little honest with you in today's video about a season of my life where everybody looked at me and just was like, man, you're killing it. But it almost killed me. And we were doing over $700,000 in our custom furniture company, and I was almost completely broke. And I want to talk to you about why and the mistakes that I made that led me there and the insights that I learned during that season, and hopefully how I can help you to build something meaningful, but also keep more of the money that you make, provide for your family, and build your future financially. So the one thing that I want to harp on when it comes to this core idea of don't build something big and be broke is that revenue is for vanity and profit is for sanity. Okay, so revenue, which is your top line number, which anytime anybody ever asks, well, how big's your business? You give them your revenue number. That's a vanity number, right? If you do $1 million a year, but it costs you $1,001 to run your business, then you lost $1 in order to run your business that year. Like you didn't make any money. You were super busy and super broke, okay? And what I found, the year that I did, we did right around $720,000 in revenue, and it was in, I think, 2023. I had this mindset of just grow. We gotta grow, we gotta grow. And I was increasing my ad spend month over month, and we were scaling, and we weren't. I mean, we were making more money month over month. You know, I think you're at $720,000 a year, your average monthly revenue at that point is around $60,000 a month. So we were cooking. Right? And I had a full team. I had a full-time salesperson, delivery driver, a shop full of 3 or 4 guys. We were busy and we were working hard and making 4 or 5 dining table sets a week. And what I found at the end of the year, I didn't realize this really throughout the year, but at the end of the year, what I realized is that I was running 9% margins. 9% margins. So what does that mean on $720,000? Well, 10% margins means that I netted $72,000. After all the dust had settled, I made $72,000 to run a $720,000 business with 6 employees. At 9% margins, it's even less than that. I think it's like $60,000 or $62,000 or so. And so I realized that I had been focusing on growth and focusing on top line revenue and not focusing on profitability. And so this is the primary thing I want to teach you today is how do you focus on profitability? And what are some changes that you can make if you're really busy and you're working your tail off and you still find yourself in a place where you don't have any money? What are some small tweaks, some small changes that you can make? So in my situation, where did all the money go? That was a question that I found myself asking is like, where did all the money go? How did we not make more money? If we're this busy, how are we not making more money? Well, here's some examples of where the money probably went. We had probably inefficiencies inside of our staff, right? So we had guys that probably weren't the right guys to be in the seats that they were in. We had, inefficiencies in terms of the way that we were doing things. Materials. There were several times, gosh, this stresses me out to even think about it, but there were several times where we'd build a walnut tabletop. We'd have $600 in a walnut tabletop. When we'd go to cut it to length, we'd cut it too short. This didn't happen a lot, but it did happen once or twice across my business. And you talk about endless amounts of stress. Like we just literally threw $600 in a dumpster and set it on fire. And like that kind of stuff happened, right? And as you scale businesses and as you scale companies, you can't hold hands the same way that you can when you're small. And so you're trusting guys to make sound decisions and be thorough. And sometimes they make mistakes. And the reality is that people make mistakes. Even your best team members are going to make mistakes. You can't condemn them forever for it. Hopefully they learn from it. A big one for us was rework or mistakes, right? So if we sent something out the door that had an error or a mistake on it, we had to bring it back. And if you're delivering, so think about this, if you're delivering the furniture and you drive an hour and a half or 2 hours to deliver it, and you charge the customer for that, and then you get there and it's wrong. Well, then the way that a delivery should go is you charge the customer to take it to them and drive back home, and you're fine. Even if you don't make money, but you're not losing money driving and delivering furniture. Well, now if you delivered it and it's wrong or something that you have a mistake, you got to deliver it, bring it back, and make a whole nother trip. Or this is a really good one. You deliver it and drop it off, get back to the shop. They send you a message says, hey, this is wrong, or hey, something's not right. You got to drive back and pick it up, drive back, fix it, drive back, drop it off, and drive back. So now you have 3 trips on the books. This started eating us up. When you're doing 20 new dining table sets a month, you're going to have 1 or 2 of those where you have mistakes, you have errors, you have problems. And what that ends up doing is costing you $1,000 here, $2,000 here. And that slowly starts to erode your margins. Also, underpricing jobs. And I'm going to get into this in just a second, but underpricing jobs, man, it's like one thing that I heard one time and it blew my mind. And this kind of math is how simple it is, but it's hard to, we don't realize this. If you're running 10% margins in your business, let's say you sell a dining table set for $3,000. And at that price, you're making 10%. So you're making $300 after all is said and done. Well, this is only going to happen in a really big business, by the way. If it's just you, you should be running like 40% margins or 30% margins. You should be running much higher margins than this. But as you start scaling, you got a bunch of overhead. Your margins tend to dip, but you're playing the volume game. 9% margins is still not good. You should have at least like 15 to 20% margins or more. But let's say at 10% margins, you're keeping $300. If you implement across your business just a 10% price increase, so 10% across the board on all your products, and you don't change anything else about your business, you have the same number of customers, you just stay this, everything else stays exactly the same. The system stay the same, the staff stays the same, the material costs stay the same, everything stays the same, and you just increase your prices 10%. You just doubled your profitability inside of your business. Isn't that crazy? Like, I heard that for the first time and it blew my mind. And I was like, first off, you're a freaking idiot, Zach. And then second, sometimes just a simple price increase can completely fix a broken model. Okay. And so I was busy, but not profitable. And I want to help you to not do that. Okay. Also, just so you know, the emotional side of this, which you're probably going to relate to some of this, is that you feel the pressure to keep selling. You got to sell because you're always in a cash flow bind. You never have quite enough money in the account. You're always kind of afraid of payroll coming up. You're freaking out about money all the time. So you constantly feel this pressure to sell, which you need to be selling all the time anyway, but this is just amplified when you have really tight margins. You can't slow down. You can't catch your breath, and you always feel like you're behind. My stepdad has a saying that the only thing harder than keeping up is catching up. And especially in a manufacturing setting, like if you fall behind half an order a week, right? So like, let's say that you're supposed to get 2 dining table sets done a week based on your size or whatever, and you only get it 1.5 done a week, and you fall behind half a set a week. At the end of the year, you're going to be 20 weeks behind, 22, 23 weeks behind, or more, 25 weeks behind, because you've just fallen behind just a little bit at a time, and there's almost no way to catch up. And what this doesn't just affect is it doesn't just affect your customers, but it affects your cash flow, right? So if you are taking 50% deposits and then you're taking 50% second half payments and you're always a little bit behind, you are always delayed to collect cash, and that's going to create a cash flow bind inside of your business. And so you got to make sure that you're keeping up to the point where it's like, hey, on a day by day basis, we have target objectives inside of the shop of what we're accomplishing, and we're not going to leave the shop until we get that done, right? So that we can stay caught up. And the ultimate feeling that this creates is that you just feel trapped inside of your own business, and that's not a healthy place to be, right? And so the big realizations that I want to give you here today is, number one, that revenue is a vanity metric. When you talk about revenues, you talk about how big your business is, it really doesn't matter. The ultimate thing that matters is how much money are you keeping? How much money at the end of the year are you keeping? Listen, I talk a lot about business growth and growing your business and increasing your revenue and so on and so forth. But the truth of the matter is, it may be better for you to be a one-man show, do $15,000 a month, and keep 8, work by yourself, not have any employees, than it is to scale to $50, $60, $70, $80,000 a month, have a team of employees that stress you out, that don't do what you tell them to do, run 10% margins, and make the same money. So the first realization is that revenue is a vanity metric, okay? The second realization is that growth can hide problems, but not forever. As you grow and you continue to just sell more, it does fix things, but eventually the truth comes out. The Bible says everything in the dark will be brought to the light. And eventually you're going to get caught with your pants down. And you've got to make sure that you have a healthy model in terms of your pricing structure and your actual profitability. And then the last big realization here is that you can scale yourself into a worse life. You can scale into a worse life. And so how did I fix this problem inside of my business? I'm going to walk you through exactly what I did to fix this problem. So number one, the very first thing that I did was I implemented a price increase inside of my business. And I don't think I did a 10% increase, but I think I did about a 5% increase. So with that, I went from 9% margins to 14% margins overnight with just a 5% price increase. Okay, nothing else about my business changed. Then we started really diving into how the team functioned and how we were getting the work done and the inefficiencies that we were running into. And we started to build systems. We started to actually make some moves in terms of staff. We had guys that were really fast, but they were sloppy. We had guys that were really, really good, but they were so slow that if you had a shop full of those guys, you're never going to get anything out the door, right? Whatever you get out the door is going to be perfect, but you just can't make any money that way. So we kind of shifted these guys' roles around to different things. And then we had a manager that oversaw quality and speed, right? So the guy that's got really good quality that's slow, we needed to get him in gear, right? We got to get him working faster. And the guy that's moving really quickly but it's a little sloppy, we got to slow him down. We created more of a balanced approach in terms of the business by doing this. And so that was the second thing that we did. And what we ended up doing is we went from spending about 20 to 22% in labor down to around 16 to 17% in labor costs. We're able to get the same amount of work done, and we're spending less in labor costs. And that kind of works in conjunction with the price increase. You know, if I increase my prices and I even don't get any faster at all inside of the shop, I'm still just as efficient or inefficient as I was, my labor costs are going to be lower just because I'm charging more money for the same product, right? And so that was the second thing that we did. And then the third thing that we did is that we revisited all of our relationships with our vendors. The big move that we made was that we were building probably 80% of everything that we built out of red oak. And we were paying around $325 a board foot for red oak. And we found a new red oak supplier that we could buy red oak from for about $250 to $260 a board foot. And you would think, oh, well, that's not really that big of a difference, like $330 a board foot to $260 a board foot. But what that is that's about a 30% cost savings. 30% cost savings on all of our lumber. Think about that for a second. And with that change, then with the improved shop and the price increase, we went from 9% margins to 19% margins the next year. And we increased the top line revenue again. So we went from a $720,000 a year business to a $900,000 business. And we cleared about $140,000 to $160,000 in net profits, right? And so I say all that to say, business is just identifying the problems and coming up with creative solutions to solve them. So when it comes to building a better and bigger business, don't just build a prison for yourself as the owner. Build it with profitability in mind. How do we continually increase profitability so that I can do more of what I want to do when I want to do it? I don't have to be involved in the day-to-day operations all the time. Or, hey, I don't want employees. I don't want to scale. I want to keep this small and I want to control profits. And I want to do it by myself or maybe with a part-time helper or me and my spouse or what have you. We're going to do 20 grand a month. We're going to keep 10 grand a month. I'm going to be a six-figure woodworker, right? And again, very doable. How do I know? Because I did it. I figured it out. And I've worked with over 230 other people across North America that have done it too. And so with that, as we wrap up this video, I always want to leave you guys with some resources. So number one, if you're watching this and you're just starting to kind of dip your toes in the business side of woodworking or business side of custom furniture, I want to invite you to check out the Handmade Business Secrets ebook. It's a book that I wrote that really outlines my story and my journey. And you can check that out completely for free. So it's the first link in the description below. All you got to do is click the link, enter your first name, your email, and we'll send that over to you, okay? The second resource that I want to send your way is the Handmade Hero Academy program. So if you are a total beginner, you're passionate about woodworking, but you don't know jack about business, and you want to get some business principles and you want to start building on the right foundation, I want to invite you to check out the Handmade Hero Academy program. It's a low-cost option to get started, and if you sell one high-ticket product as a result of what you learn inside of that program, it's going to more than pay for itself, okay? So be sure to check that out. And then lastly is the Woodworking Business Accelerator program. Guys, for those of you that are ready to go to the next level, whether that be stay a one-man crew or scale with a team, we can help you increase your revenue and your profitability. Keep more of the money that you make so that you build a life that you truly love. With that, all you got to do is click the link below in the description, fill out the application, book a call. After you book the call, you're going to be redirected to about a 30-minute video where I really explain what we do and why it works and what you can expect inside of the program. And then once we hop on the call, you're going to visit with me. We're going to see if this is a good fit for you and where you're at, right? We're going to walk through your unique situation. I'm going to give you some counsel. Hey, if I were in your shoes, this is what I would focus on. And then if it is a good fit and it's not for everybody, I'll tell you more about the program. We can dive into all the details and you can make a decision from there. So with that, if you have not subscribed to this channel yet and you're trying to get better at business and you're a custom furniture maker or a woodworker or a cabinet maker or whatever kind of maker, I'm telling you, you got to subscribe. So right down here, I think it's right down here, click that little subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. Zach, you're the most charming man in all of the internet. Thank you for all your help. I really appreciate it. So with that, love you guys so much. Appreciate you for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.